first impressions. Using both scientific and observational methods, this behavioral expert tests the speed at which we form impressions of others and how these impressions affect our conduct. But what is it that we look for when we make a snap judgment about somebody?
Minimum wage, I guess, 20,000 a year.
And how far are people prepared to go to make the right impression?
How many people want beers? Perhaps I did have something to prove.
In London, New York City, and numerous other locations, teams of psychologists observe natural human behavior, sometimes openly, often through cameras hidden in unlikely places. We're all individuals, but according to psychologists, under the right conditions, our actions can be very predictable. To show just how predictable we can be, required the creation of a special laboratory where people could be observed under controlled conditions, a human zoo. This is Wastwater, in the north of England. It is located 250 miles from London, an ideal setting for isolating people from their accustomed surroundings. 150 people responded to ads requesting volunteers to participate in a serious psychological experiment. They represented a cross-section of different nationalities, ages, occupations, and personality types. The volunteers were whittled down to these 12. They were told they were being filmed for a psychological experiment, but they didn't know what the tests would be. They didn't know they'd be living in this isolated house. And they didn't know that nearly every room in the house would be observed by hidden cameras. Psychologists say when we form an early impression of others, we use physical features as a clue to their character. To test how arbitrary these early judgments can be, the volunteers were asked to make assessments of the other participants, based solely on photographs.
He looks a bit like a pit bull terrier. He looks a hard bloke, not the sort of bloke you want to mess about with.
Quite a funny person.
Really, he looks a bit like a mummy's boy, to be honest with you.
Possibly a bit stuck up, maybe.
He looks like a chef, I don't know why.
I can imagine she's quite intelligent.
He just looks too snooty for me. Looks a bit of a snob.
Athletic, quite intelligent, reasonably healthy. I think he could be quite a big challenge, actually.
Divorcee, couple of kids.
She looks a bit like a lesbian.
But how accurate will these early impressions prove to be when these 12 volunteers meet at the human zoo? Construction is almost complete. 2 miles of cable will be carrying pictures and sound from 15 hidden cameras and 15 concealed microphones into this control room. There, 2 eminent psychologists will be able to scrutinize every move made by the participants in this veritable human zoo. Phil Zimbardo of Stanford University is the world's leading expert in groundbreaking psychology experiments. Dr. Mark McDermott is one of Britain's top social psychologists.
We are about to see a practical experiment unfold. We're going to observe what happens when we put real people in a field experiment. We're interested in things like cooperation and competition. We're interested in group dynamics, how leaders emerge, how rules can come to control people. We're interested as much in the phenomena of dictatorships as we are in democracy. But really what we learn from this is what people say they would do is often a far cry from what they actually do when put in the crucible of human behavior. And that's really what counts, is understanding what people actually do, not what they imagine they would do.
The first participants arrive. Caroline is 33, runs her own business, and is married with 2 children. The zoo participants are deliberately introduced one by one to see what first impressions they form about each other.
Some lunch about 1 o'clock through there, so do help yourself then.
Okay.
All right, so just make yourself comfortable.
All right, thank you.
All right.
I just thought, oh my God, what have I let myself in for? Because the room was very, very different from the normal sort of room that you go in.
Very different. There are 4 hidden cameras in the common room, 4 in the meeting room, 3 in the dining room, 2 in the hall, and 1 each in the kitchen and the shop. The next participant to arrive is Amanda.
Yeah, I'm terrible with first impressions. I try not to, but I sometimes can't help judging people. But I think I was more nervous about meeting anybody than assessing what I thought they were like to begin with.
This is really the first stage of something that's awkward for all of us, meeting a total stranger in a new situation. This is a situation that all of us have been in. The first day on a new job, the first day in summer camp, the first day at college, where it's so important that people like you, and you're never quite sure of the criteria. How are they judging you?
Sharon, seen on the left, couldn't have realized that she was being judged, or else she wouldn't have held court for 20 minutes.
I was quite scared of her at first. She just came out with all this stuff and I was like, okay.
When she first initially walked in, she was my only concern. She was the only person I noticed and thought, my God, I've not met anybody really that much in your face.
What did you guys say last night?
She was loud, swearing quite a lot, and not really a sort of person that I'd like to have an awful lot to do with.
But how will the group react to the next arrival? Ahmed is a 20-year-old from New Jersey who attends college in London.
When I first meet someone, I might come off as a little cocky, maybe confident. I try to get past the small talk, just, you know, hi, how you doing? Where do you go to school? Your major, things like that. And kind of just see a little bit into someone's personality by maybe making a little bit of an edgy comment, maybe saying something that you wouldn't necessarily say to someone you first meet, just to see how they'll react.
Just by choosing where to sit, Ahmed substantially increases his chances of making a good impression.
In a situation that seems as innocuous as walking into a room where there are other people, you know, where you choose to sit has a big impact on how comfortable you will then feel. If you're right in the center, where conversation has to be directed towards you, then you're never going to be on the outside.
And in seconds, Ahmed is already at the heart of the group. For a real-world scientific test of how quickly first impressions are formed, psychologists set up shop at this employment agency in the heart of London's West End.
Thanks.
It's a big day for these 3 women. They are competing for a job as a production assistant starting in 5 days. The job applicants have given their consent to allow the interviews to be taped. They've got 15 minutes each to prove their worth, or have they? The next few moments will show how long it really takes to make a lasting impression. The candidates will be facing Judy Fisher, a recruitment consultant with 30 years' experience. She's been given this device, which is connected to a control room hidden away in an adjoining office. There, occupational psychologist Terry Kellard will be able to effectively read Judy's mind. This machine will keep a record of her thought processes. If Judy's impressed, she'll turn her dial up. That will produce an electronic trace high on the screen. If she's underwhelmed, she'll turn it down, and the line will sync.
Bridget. Hello, I'm Judy Fisher. Thanks for coming along and being prepared to do this. We're going to talk first of all, Bridget, a little bit about what you've done and about what you're looking for. Then I'm going to tell you a bit more about the job and we can take it from there.
Great.
Okay?
Yeah.
Bridget's been sitting for just 12 seconds and said all of 5 words, but her trace has immediately gone up from an average of 0 to an impressive 56.
Let's just start with, I've got your CV here.
Clearly she's got a positive impression. That's the most important bit of the interview. That would have been based on what she looks like. She looks like a PA.
Yeah, I like that, and I'm good at that, and I'm efficient and fast, and I do as much of making sure everything's in order as possible. And my computer skills.
The trace remains high right till the end, finishing at nearly 100. Bridget's prospects look good.
Thank you very much. That's great. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right.
When anybody meets anybody anywhere for the first time,
in order to process information, it is absolutely essential to make a judgment about this person. So essentially what people do is make up their mind about a person and what that person's like, generally within the first 15 seconds.
It sounds very unfair, but the moment somebody walks in the room for an interview, I know or I can guess quite a lot about them just from the way they're dressed.
Sometimes you could make your mind up so quickly that I just didn't give them the benefit of any further doubt.
Well, I have to say that strong aftershave and strong perfume, for that matter, are one of my bête noires.
I would be very reluctant to employ a man with fair eyelashes.
I can think of instances where I can't remember anything about what happened or the person. All I can remember is this smell coming towards me and wanting to get away from it badly.
And all I could see through the glass table was the fact that she hadn't shaved her legs, and there were these black hairs sort of just like sprouting through the tights, and I couldn't get beyond that.
Not crazy about Grace's shoes, I'm afraid. I don't quite know why that I feel that way.
I mean, she couldn't have shaved her legs for weeks.
Lucy, hello, I'm Judy Fisher. Thanks so much for coming along to see me. We're going to just talk a little bit about what you've done in the past, what you're interested in.
Lucy looks fine, so her trace starts slightly above average, but only just, and it doesn't last.
Listen to her voice. It's beginning to lack expression. She's licking her lips, signs of tension.
Long term, something quite different, again, to my background. I'm interested in alternative health and nutrition, and one day I'd like to make...
At best, Lucy's score is mediocre. At worst, it drops even lower.
Possibly working from home and perhaps in a clinic as well as a alternative health therapist and advisor.
Lucy's lifestyle ambitions don't impress the recruiter. Her score sinks from +30 to -30 in 20 seconds. Valeria is the last to interview.
Now this should be very interesting.
Shopping bags, an obvious mistake. But how quickly and dramatically will they affect her score?
Valeria, hello, I'm Judy Fisher. Good to meet you. Thanks for coming in.
In 3 seconds, it's plummeted to a feeble -50. Neither Lucy nor Bridget ever sank that low.
Just going to talk a little bit about what you've done.
You notice that negative first impression. That's based on what she looked like. She's slightly overweight, carrying shopping bags, low levels of eye contact, and nothing positive has happened yet.
And on the creative side, you're keen cinema and theatre goer?
Yeah, very
go
much
a
so,
lot.
very much.
What was the last thing you saw in the cinema?
I haven't been for ages, actually. What was the last thing I saw?
And what about your sort of attention to detail? You're quite thorough.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you have got 3 spelling mistakes in your CV.
Do I?
Yes.
If you convey a bad first impression, you have to work very, very, very hard indeed. There was a little bit of research that showed that it takes 8 positive pieces of positive information before you can overcome a bad first impression. My view would be that even that's very, very difficult.
Unlike the other 2 candidates, Valeria is in fact an actress, planted without the recruiter's knowledge.
I'd actually been told to fidget, to not look her in the eye, to not smile, and to move around in my chair quite a bit, and just be evasive in general.
Looking at the 3 graphs together, Valeria finishes a miserable 3rd behind Bridget first and Lucy second. But look closely at the first 5 seconds. The 3 women are immediately ranked in order, and the order never changes.
Bridget, hello. Well done. You did really well in your interview. You were absolutely excellent, and we're delighted to offer you the job. So many congratulations.
Thanks very much.
And the very best of luck.
That's great, thank you.
After several months on her new job, Bridget was doing well.
I was quite surprised that it showed the results so quickly, the first 5 seconds, though some of them were very obvious. Valeria was, within the first 5 seconds, was going to have to fight very hard to get better. But first impressions are very, very important.
Next, how looks affect success.
He's handsome, very tall, nice looking.
I has a lot of girlfriends.
And the advantage this creates for one participant in the human zoo.
So immediately, if you stopped the group and said, okay, who are we going to reject and who are we going to keep, Thomas would be, you know, yeah, we want him in our group.
The impression you create is affected by the way you look. We tend to think beautiful people are more intelligent, popular, confident, and better at everything from exams to flying a plane. And if you can create a favorable impression, you can create advantages for yourself. You're more likely to get what you want, whether it's a job or a favor. Or it might be the control you have over the people around you.
I would love to say my looks doesn't make a difference, but it does.
If I was tall and slim with blonde hair and blue eyes, probably I would get more jobs and more people's interest.
I don't judge fat people thinking, oh, you're horrible, ugly, revolting. It's not like that at all. It's just my personal preference.
And all the time you're wondering what people are going to be thinking of you. Are they going to like me?
Getting my own way because I'm good looking makes me feel extremely confident, powerful, and I'm very, very sure of myself.
Well, I think it's wrong when people do make the judgments, because they should look and see what's inside the person and also give people chances to prove what they can do.
I could be really good looking, but I could be a real cow. They just don't know me, and I think it's quite shallow.
Back at the human zoo experiment, Thomas arrives. How do people generally react to his good looks?
Women respond to me in a positive manner, I think, because when I do go out, I tend to get along well with girls, and if I'm interested in them, in women, it tends to work out quite well.
So in comes Thomas, handsome young man. He picks up the chair, moves it around. So we're ready. That's a very assertive act. And now he continues. He shakes hands with everybody, introduces himself, gets their names.
He has everybody's name.
So look at the advantage that he has created for himself. He now knows everybody's name. People see him as assertive. And so immediately, if you stopped the group and said, okay, who are we going to reject and who are we going to keep, Thomas would be, you know, yeah, we want him in our group.
But just how much of an advantage is beauty in everyday situations? Meet Ruth and Rebecca. Is classically attractive. Ruth's more on the plain side. They're going to demonstrate that how you look affects how you're treated. They're going to struggle up staircases at opposite ends of Liverpool Street Station in London with heavy bags. All of the action will be captured on tape from this workman's hut. First up, Ruth. How long before a knight in shining armor rescues this damsel in distress?
Oh, that's so kind of you.
Helped at last by two women, it took 45 seconds. Now Rebecca's turn. How long before she's rescued?
Would you mind? Just shattered. I'm just trying to get to the top of those stairs there. Can you do the other one at the same time?
All of 8 seconds. Ruth is occasionally saved, but it takes longer, an average 70 seconds. Rebecca's average 24 seconds. You'd be forgiven for thinking that this caveman behavior is more about sex than chivalry.
Yeah, pretty girl, needed bags carrying upstairs.
I'm a sucker for that sort of thing.
But there's more to it than that. We have a tendency to think highly of beautiful people.
And just because they are very, very delicate, sorry. Family heirlooms, would you believe? Bringing them back for my mum.
And we want to be near them, as if some of their glory reflect on us.
Have you got a few minutes to spare? Because if he doesn't turn up, I'd need to get them into a taxi up there. I'm going to be really rude now and ask one more favour. Could you lend me some money?
How much you need?
Can you do them all three?
The men are mesmerized. They do anything Rebecca asks.
Oh, you're so strong. Thank you so much.
Although they clearly go out of their way for a pretty girl,
True gentleman. I really appreciate this.
they deny that looks have anything to do with
And
it.
I'm really thirsty and I wouldn't mind getting a drink and something to eat.
Ooh, that's what I've got me at the moment. You're more than welcome to that. If somebody needed help, I'd like to think that I would help everybody across the range, regardless if they're good looking, attractive, smelly, well presented, or whatever. I always hold doors open for ladies, though some of them slap me in my face because apparently these days we're perfectly capable of doing it ourselves.
We decide whether someone's beautiful instantly. You saw it happen a few minutes ago, though it was so fast you may have missed it. As Thomas arrives at our human zoo, watch Catherine's face in slow motion. It remains to be seen whether anything will blossom between these two, but there's no mistaking that look. Watch again when she shakes his hand, slowed down 5 times. Psychologists estimate that we take 150 milliseconds to decide whether someone's attractive, and we decide whether someone's successful just as quickly. Our impressions are based on height, and we're on solid ground. A study of American Business School graduates found that individuals earn $600 more per year for every extra inch of height. And in presidential elections, the taller man has won 17 out of 21 times. To test whether size really does matter, 2 actors take to the streets of New York City. Melvin and Marcus are almost identical. Same age, similar looks, just one obvious difference. Marcus is 6'4" and Melvin is 5'2". But which one is more attractive to women? First, short man Melvin.
He's little. He looks like he wouldn't be much to go on a date with.
Oh. Well, you can stand on a chair or something, take a box with you. That's some ladies like the smaller man.
I think he's a quiet guy, and he's not very happy. I think he's having a difficult situation right now.
Now, tall man Marcus.
Most women really like tall guys to stand over them, you know what I mean?
He's got those dreamy looking blue eyes. He's got that look, you know, give you that look.
Yeah, I wish I was his size, tell you the truth.
He's handsome, very tall, nice looking. Probably has a lot of girlfriends.
If I was single, I would date him.
He's probably married, right?
And who looks more successful at work?
He's a lawyer, doctor, and there, accountant.
I would say he's an executive who likes sports.
Probably earns about, maybe about $500,000 a year.
54, 58, close to 60 a year, 60,000.
I would say maybe 100,000 a year.
Yeah, he looks like a tycoon.
And Melvin?
He's a shopkeeper.
Maybe a cook. He's like a cook.
So he earns about an average income, nothing fancy, but enough to live on, yeah.
Minimum wage, I guess, 20,000 a year.
You know what? Looking at him, I think he's a psychiatrist. He looks like a psychiatrist.
On average, they credited Melvin with a $20,000 income and Marcus with $220,000, all thanks to a difference of 14 inches. When the human zoo continues, 2 men suffer the consequences of a bad first impression.
I walked into the room and I looked around at the people and thought, oh my God, you know, what the hell am I doing?
He's on the periphery, and so that already sets him up as an outsider in this group.
In the human zoo experiment, Psychologist Phil Zimbardo and Mark McDermott are secretly observing 12 volunteers as they meet for the first time. The next participant to arrive is Richard.
I like to play to win. You know, if I'm gonna enter something or do something, I want to achieve it to its 100%. So therefore, I'm out to win all the time.
Richard's competitiveness and the fact that he's the oldest means he'll have to work hard to bond with the other participants. He'll also have to overcome a small obstacle placed in his path.
The very first day I walked into the room and I looked around at the people and thought, oh my God, there's all these people here and they're all in their early 20s and I'm 41 years of age.
Now look, we've purposely rigged it here so that there isn't a chair for him. Everybody else has one, so what's he going to do? And he's standing back, sort of pretending that what's in his pockets is most important to him.
He's standing behind the other person's chair so that the physical structure can come to shape the social behavior. That because there was no obvious place for him to sit down, he stood up. And that automatically created an awkwardness of everybody else is comfortable and he's not. And so he's still on the periphery. And so that already sets him up as an outsider in this group, right from the very beginning. So Richard is somebody I want to keep an eye on. Will he now do things to propel himself more into the center of the group, or will he simply be an outsider for the rest of the experiment?
Richard's just made a terrible first impression. But what happens when our actions are completely unexpected? This is a service station in the Midlands of Britain. It is located 20 miles from Birmingham. A polite, well-dressed, well-spoken actor named Charlie is going to show us how our actions can create the wrong impression. Even in a busy place like this cafeteria, we still like to protect our own personal space. These people may be in public, but they're safe in their own bubble. Psychologists say that when you stand or sit next to someone, the distance between bodies can be used to communicate a message. It might be attraction. It might be reserve. Get too close to a stranger, and you immediately make them uncomfortable. Charlie's about to invade this man's space completely.
Is this number 3? The examination shall be carried out in adequate natural or artificial light.
Come on. I was sat down having my lunch and reading my correspondence course, and this idiot came and sat down and started looking at me. I said, do you have a problem?
I don't have a problem just having a quick read. It's boring here. Really, I can't afford a paper.
What are you doing there?
Just having a quick read. It looks interesting. I don't know much about lifting machines.
I just thought you'd escape from somewhere. Why don't you just clear off?
Do you mind if I check number 7, point 7?
Clear off, please.
All I want to do is check point 7, then I'll have a total overview of cleaning lifting machines.
Can you please clear off?
See you soon. Here, look, have a biscuit.
It's very unusual behaviour. It's not normal behaviour. Not without somebody trying to provoke a fight, anyway.
There are unwritten rules on how to behave when meeting or approaching a stranger for the first time.
Oh, sorry, just have a little sip. I had a bit of a dry throat.
Break one of these rules and you've got a problem. Break 2 and you're heading for trouble.
Oh, do you want to thin out, or do you want me to throw you out?
Sorry?
You would.
Just having a little biscuit.
Do you mind disappearing? Or do I have to go and get somebody to make you disappear?
You've obviously got off the wrong side of the bed.
I haven't got the wrong side of the bed at all. You might stand here. Now, whatever this is, take it and disappear.
I'll leave you the biscuits. Okay?
Take the biscuits.
Here, take that one. Look, I've dunked it now, someone might as well have it. You have it.
Charlie broke the rules on purpose to prove how dramatic the consequences can be. Back at the human zoo experiment, there's trouble brewing between 2 of the participants. If you're going to learn to kayak, you have to practice capsizing. The volunteers have been told that this kind of activity is the core of the experiment. In fact, it's a chance for the psychologist to see what the zoo participants are made of.
It's like this. I'd rather do the marathon.
Yeah?
I've done the marathon this year. I'd rather do the marathon than doing that. Could be 26.2 miles. I'll do that.
So the marathon is easier than that.
Very good.
That's the only one you think. Have you got your breath back? Can you talk?
Horrible.
Experience. I thought I was going to get stuck in the boat.
Our attention is drawn to George, who's fast becoming somewhat of a favorite among group members. Richard isn't. And George is winding him up.
I thought, oh God, I'm never going to get on with this guy. He's going to drive me around the bend about, you know, his bloody makeup and probably going off to the toilet every 5 minutes as women do.
I had absolutely no idea what Richard thought of me. He's told me since what he thought of me.
I wasn't going to let him know that, you know, he was irritating me in the first instance.
They return to home base, the day's filming done, or so they think. Inside, hidden cameras are still rolling, and Richard's attitude toward George is hardening.
Right, okay. What are you going to do? You're going to film a lot of George, aren't you? Yeah. Because it's fucking tough, mate. Let's face it. Yeah.
Fabulous.
Tea, coffee? George has got his makeup, so I can always borrow it off of George.
Richard appears to have started a whispering campaign against George.
Put his clap off. And the mincing in and out. You end up with a dump.
Still the outsider, he's now trying to recruit allies.
All right.
No, tired. Wet hair.
George comes in and he could sit anywhere, and he sits right next to Richard. So maybe at some level he's pushing the envelope. He's forcing Richard to deal with him.
Yeah. Did the doctor, when you went for your medical, say pull your trousers down so I can check you've got no hernias?
Yeah.
Because he went, oh, you have to put them down further than that. I went, what?
Really? Yeah. No, they asked you.
Oh, right, pull my trousers down from about there.
Yeah.
And he had his hands there and made me cough.
Yeah. He did it quickly though, which was good. But...
Yeah, that's normal for boys.
Richard is not amused.
Boys have that done, don't they?
Interesting body language here, this arm back and a leg still on the table. It's quite a dominant posture.
I must drink.
The stage is set. We have Richard, an outsider, competing with George for the lead role. Coming up on The Human Zoo, the drastic action Richard takes to ensure that he emerges on top.
He had something to do and he did it.
What he's doing is challenging this whole institution.
It's the evening of day 1 of the Human Zoo experiment. Resident psychologists Phil Zimbardo and Mark McDermott closely monitor Richard's actions as he tries to move to the center of attention among the participants. Just as they're about to call it a day, Richard goes on the prowl.
What's happening?
I thought the shop was closed.
The shop is closed. It looks like they're breaking into the shop.
This is the moment that addresses Dr. Zimbardo's question about how Richard would respond to feeling left outside the group. What would he do to overcome a bad first impression?
Hang on. Would you... Where, how many people want beers?
An older man trying to ingratiate himself with a younger crowd.
He's closing it up so we don't know that he's just stolen.
About 10 cans. I don't know how he thinks those are not going to be missed. But he's done it. He obviously doesn't think he's being observed.
What do you mean?
In the kitchen, shopping.
Have they got any wine?
Shopping.
Who's saying what?
No, they've got...
Richard's come back again. He's not acting on his own. There's a diffusion of responsibility here, isn't there, by all these people being involved?
Right, there's a ball. Where's the red stripe? What I've got to do is make sure they go back, if you know what I mean. Anybody want any Coke?
Yeah, take some Coke.
Oh, now he's taking orders, you know.
Yeah. What would you like over there?
Rum and Coke and some...
Sure, yeah. Packet of crisps.
No, leave the Coke. The other stuff is too hot, isn't it? Fancy balls.
End of day one. They've only been here for 6 hours. What's going to happen?
Already we have vandals and thieves and,
and
rogues.
Yeah, what will happen tomorrow?
Who wants a beer? You want a beer? You want a beer?
No, I've asked.
I think what we're seeing is Richard now creating a reputation for himself. He's the oldest person in the group. He was always worried about would he be accepted by the others.
How many beers? 2 beers. We can't record stuff because they won't notice it, won't they?
And I think he's now demonstrating to the others that he is assertive, he is dominant. He's somebody that you have to take seriously because what he's doing is challenging this whole institution, breaking, you know, a really fundamental rule. I'm going to go in and I'm going to steal from the people who've set this up. So yeah, I'm really eager to see what's going to happen tomorrow. Well, it's a good start.
Yeah.
We are on our way.
Richard steals 14 cans of beer. Petty theft, but it is also an attempt to transform his status. When confronted later, he feigns innocence.
I don't know who stole that beer, to be honest with you. I just don't know how that got there.
If he had not been caught on camera, would Richard's face reveal whether or not he's telling the truth? The next experiment provides the surprising answer. A thief at work. A shadowy figure enters the mailroom at Rutgers University in New Brunswick, New Jersey. The thief steals $50 and leaves, but this theft has been set up as part of an experiment. These 3 students were all given the same opportunity to steal. Now we're going to find out which of them did. They'll be grilled by interrogator Dr. Jack Grasso. And behind a two-way mirror, psychologist Dr. Mark Frank, an authority on lying, will look for the telltale signs of guilt. The test subjects must try to control the impression they create so they'll be believed. If they're guilty and don't get caught, they can keep the money. If they're innocent but look guilty, they will be subjected to a long questionnaire. Dr. Frank says he can spot a liar just by looking at their face. Can you?
Are you lying to me right now?
Not at all.
It would be wrong for me to say something that I didn't do.
I can't confess to something I didn't do.
There's no really easy guide to lying, no easy guide to truth-telling. There's no Pinocchio response. There's nothing that simple. There are some, books that list some of these things, like, touching the nose is one, To touch the nose means you're lying. Well, nobody's ever found any reliable information about that.
Dr. Frank thinks he's found a better way. He's spent the last 12 years analyzing the faces of 1,000 liars and truth-tellers. Now he reckons he can tell them apart. He believes that when liars become anxious, they can't mask the appearance of fear for a split second at least.
It's somebody struggling with and trying to suppress the fear, and yet it's still leaking through in some places. And sometimes in different parts of the face are leakier than others.
As Adam takes his place in the hot seat, Dr. Frank's watching for raised eyebrows drawn together in the middle, or a grimacing, downturned mouth, both features of fear.
Is it your intention to answer every question about the theft of that money truthfully?
Yes.
Describe exactly what happened, what you saw and did when you were in that room.
I basically came to the room, I looked around and I checked out the envelope, it was empty, and I left.
Is Dr. Frank convinced?
Did you take the money out of the envelope?
There was an empty envelope. No, I didn't.
Are you lying to me now?
No,
Why should I believe you?
because I'm not lying to you right now. I'm telling you the truth here.
There we go.
And I left.
Now there's a critical moment there. This is the first big lie. He says he went to the envelope and it was empty. And what you see is a really wonderful micro expression of fear. What he's doing is he's not just raising his eyebrows straight up. They're being raised up and pulled together in the middle. The average person cannot do that deliberately. And so what that suggests to us is there's an emotion that's just shot through his system right there. And when he's just said the envelope was empty, he gets this surge of anxiety at that moment. And again, that expression was very, very brief. If we take a look at it again in real time.
The envelope was empty.
Pow, that's it.
And I left.
Less than a second.
And later, he believes there's another giveaway.
This is interesting. This looks like fear coming out of the bottom part of the face. He's having surges of anxiety at critical moments and at different moments in the course of this interview. We would predict that this sort of a person with this sort of behavioral pattern would be lying.
Caught red-handed, but he may not be the only thief. To make the test harder for Dr. Frank, there are two thieves, but he doesn't know it. When the human zoo continues, Dr. Frank tries to catch a liar.
Did you take the money out of the envelope?
No, I just opened it and looked in it.
Is it Debbie?
Did you take the money out of the envelope?
No.
Or Georgia? Debbie's a student at Rutgers University. She and another student are taking part in a psychology experiment on the body language of deception. Watching from behind a two-way mirror is Dr. Mark Frank, a leading expert on lying. Can Dr. Frank tell who's telling the truth and who's lying?
Before we begin the interrogation, just let me ask you a few simple questions to get you used to the procedure. Are you ready?
Okay.
Do you have a favorite time of the year?
Summer.
Really, why? What makes it good for you?
Vacation.
Is it your intention to answer all of the questions regarding the theft of that money truthfully?
Yes.
Have you ever before been in a situation like you were in today?
Yeah, once, but it was only like $5. But I did take it, but it was...
Why didn't you take that money?
No, I did. It was like $5, because, I don't know, it was only $5.
Describe exactly what happened, what you saw, what you did when you were in that room today.
Well, I was instructed to go into the room, to look at the envelope and not take any of the money.
Did you take the money out of the envelope?
No, I just opened it and looked in it.
Why didn't you take the money?
Because I didn't earn it.
Are you lying to me now?
Not at all.
So what impression did Debbie make on Dr. Frank?
This is quite interesting. Now here, she's being asked about her favorite time of the year, and she's got almost an anxious look on her face. You could see, if you look at her forehead and the tension in her eyebrows, and they haven't even got to the interview, just asking her about favorite time of year. She's an interesting case in that she is showing us almost anticipatory anxiety, waiting for the next question. But as she answers it, she is in fact looking, very natural, and the anxiety goes off her face, and she is dealing with it. And I think a lot of people would see that anxiety and say, there's something wrong here. They may not know what it is. I would think she would be a truth teller who would be one that would be misjudged.
Did you take the money out of the envelope?
No.
What about Georgia? At first, Dr. Frank can't find anything to suggest she's lying.
I think you think I may have to view her all the way through here and then go back.
But finally, he thinks he sees something.
Right?
Well, I was instructed to go into the room.
What you see here, as she's talking about what she was supposed to do, you see on the lower part of her face there, that is the risorius muscle. And the risorius muscle is part of the fear expression. And that suggests to me that she's got a blast of anxiety or fear that's just sort of shot through her system at this point, because she's at the critical moment in the story. But this is really subtle. Of all the people we've seen, she, I think, is the most persuasive liar. I bet many people would miss her, and they would judge her as telling the truth.
Dr. Frank's verdicts are Adam, guilty. Georgia, guilty. Debbie, not guilty. Right every time.
Are you lying to me now?
I'm not.
Richard lied about breaking into the shop, but finally he confesses.
What do you want me to say about the stolen beer? I mean,
Who stole the beer?
Who stole the beer? I stole the beer. I'll put my hands up at that. I stole the beer.
But why?
Perhaps I did have something to prove, not only to myself, but to the other people. So yeah, subconsciously I think there was that element in there, yes, yeah. I also didn't want to come across as being the dad figure, really. I wanted to be part of the group. So, as I say, I had to try harder to be accepted to be part of the group as well.
It's interesting to me that Richard was the one that led this initial rebellion, this initial violation. And I think he's demonstrating to the group, this is how you be assertive. This is how a man deals with a situation, that you challenge authority head on.
Richard got off to a poor start. Aware of the fact that he was on the periphery, he made a desperate attempt to grab the limelight. But his dramatic actions ultimately failed.
He had something to do and he did it. Yeah, I do think it was wrong. He shouldn't have done it.
I would have taken the beer and left money for it. Maybe not right away, maybe at the end of the trip, you know, giving them the money.
It's just not cheeky or naughty or anything. It's just a really childish thing to do.
By the end of day one, feelings are still mixed about Richard, which confirms the psychologist's prediction that it can take as many as 8 pieces of positive information to repair a poor first impression.
So yeah, I'm really eager to see what's going to happen tomorrow.
What will happen tomorrow after this? Goodness
I don't
me.
know.
Today we're splitting you into 2 groups.
I hadn't expected that, and suddenly that was like us against them.
They sulked about it.
I thought there could be even a punch-up at one point.
They just took it to heart. When it started getting a bit competitive and a bit heated, I thought, oh, heck.
She definitely is going to have to pay a price for that.
That is really good.
Now she's enjoying the power, the real power that being a red has.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
Would you ignore a woman collapsed in the street? Would you stay in a burning building just because everyone else does? Would you humiliate someone for not fitting in? In the right circumstances, psychologists say you're capable of all of these acts and worse. In a series of original experiments, psychologists test human behavior with cameras rolling.
This is the most fascinating thing in the universe, is to try to understand the nature of human nature.
After seeing how people behave in the human zoo, you'll never see life the same way again. On a school playground, everyone's part of a clique, going wherever the group goes, doing whatever the group does. That's how teenagers are. But research tells us that adults are the same. Groups control us, all of us, more than you think. Using hidden cameras, teams of psychologists conduct a range of original experiments involving ordinary people in a host of locations, including London and New York. They want to show that no matter where you live, there are universal rules of human behavior. Even strangers form unconscious groupings, and psychologists say these ties profoundly affect their behavior.
Help me.
In a dramatic experiment, psychologists create a human zoo in the Lake District, 250 miles north of London. An isolated house rigged with 15 hidden cameras, 12 members of the public representing a cross-section of ages, nationalities, and personality types have agreed to participate in a program about human behavior. They know that they're taking part in a psychological experiment, but they don't know what they're being tested on, or that they're being secretly filmed when they're inside the house. Two psychologists, Mark McDermott of the University of East London and Phil Zimbardo of Stanford University, watch everything from a secret control room. Yesterday, they arrived at Wastwater, a remote spot in North England. The psychologist observed how the participants formed first impressions of each other in a matter of seconds. They also witnessed the devastating impact of a bad first impression on Richard, who initially found it hard to fit in, and watched as later he stole beer in a desperate attempt to make people like him.
Who stole the beer? I stole the beer.
I do think that part of it was that he wanted to fit in.
Ultimately, Richard's attempts worked, and the participants bonded together as a cohesive group. But now it's 8 a.m., day 2, and that's about to change. They're going to be divided into two groups. How will the zoo participants be affected by an arbitrarily imposed group identity? Today's experiments are designed to show just how powerful the herd mentality can be.
Today we're splitting you into two groups. It's been decided that there'll be a group A and a group B.
I hadn't expected that. Because on the first day we did a lot of team building in a group, I think that I expected everyone to stay in a group.
If the psychologists are right, the effects of the separation will become evident almost immediately.
The two teams are in competition with each other, okay?
So B group is the not so good group and A group is the good group.
We'll see.
The B's are Dave Jones, Amit.
Well, you notice the atmosphere has changed. It was very gay and people laughing, a mix of apprehension, and now it's suddenly gotten serious. And they already know that there's a distinction, a dominance distinction. It's almost like grades in school. B is always worse than A.
A is better than B, red's better than blue, Manchester United are better than Liverpool, you know, better than Everton. It's just the way it is, isn't it? A is better than B.
Straight away, the fact that you're the B team as opposed to the A team, it makes you feel as if you're sort of lesser people, if you like.
The A team! So as you saw, it's a mixture of sizes.
They've been divided randomly and given different letters and colors to wear. A few moments later, they sit down to breakfast, but notice how they sit.
This is interesting, as they've both sat down at different tables, and they weren't told to sit at tables according to the colour of their t-shirts. They've done this quite spontaneously.
It's kind of birds of a feather are flocking together.
Flocking together, yeah.
And only 15 minutes after they are divided into teams, the first sign of friction appears. An argument breaks out between Caroline from the A team and B team member Julia over how they line up for breakfast.
Hang on. We're competing now. So if we want to queue this side, we'll queue this side.
The queue is orderly and starts from that way.
I need their breakfast.
Just simply putting different colours on completely separated the two teams straight away.
So what we're seeing is a kind of ripple in the lake, if you will. We've thrown a stone into the lake in terms of assignment to the two arbitrary groups A and B. And just that simple thing, at 8 o'clock in the morning, just a short while after they've awoken, suddenly interesting group dynamics are emerging.
A mid-morning kayak race has been designed to polarize the groups even further. Unknown to either team, it's been rigged so the A's win. This element of competition intensifies group identity. The teams argue over who won.
Because if you think about it, no matter who came out of the place first, and they turned around and said, right, you're going with Dave, or you're going with Tom, Dick and Harry, and you're going down there, and we came round here. It doesn't matter where you are, it's the fact that it's up here. If you want to win, you've got to win. Yeah, but if you came out the doors and you was told to go down,
That's
just
got
down the
nothing
bank.
to do with that. If
Of course it
we'd all
is.
gone up set off at the same time, you were you were already on the water.
It's as simple as that. There's no point debating why you lost. You lost. Sorry, guys, but you lost.
Yesterday, Richard was an outsider, but simply by giving him a red jacket, he suddenly has a group to belong to. Now people are listening to him.
Stories. I mean, you had longer, you had a little bit more practice. I wasn't going to get any better.
Because
I'm not
George
good
has
at
already
that.
admitted that he wasn't prepared to win.
No,
he's already said he was the weak link.
At the end
so
of
he's
the day,
negatively thinking
right, can I
about
just
that.
say that because we're all nice, strong, we're all mates. At the end of the
Can I say
day,
this, people, congratulations.
Okay.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Right. Okay.
They've been in separate teams for only 3 hours, and already the harmony and high spirits of yesterday's bonding are evaporating as they form new group loyalties. Groups can exert extraordinary power over individuals. We can succumb to their influence in seconds. Almost subconsciously, you can become part of a group simply by being in a crowded public space. This service station is located on one of the busiest freeways in Britain, the M42.
Excuse me, madam. I couldn't borrow you for 5 seconds.
The man in the suit is Charlie, an actor. He's going to conduct a bogus survey on general topics. The people with him are also actors, behaving as they've been instructed to, except for the woman in the orange shirt.
Question 1, I'll start at your end. Where do we get ham from?
Pig. Pig.
Pig.
Pig.
Easy, but now some impossible questions.
What is the cube root of 97?
14.
A completely wrong, made-up answer.
Yeah, 14.
14.
14. 14.
Like, I was put at the end of the line and I didn't know half the questions asked to me, and so it sounded right to me. 4 out of 5 people said it, so why shouldn't I say it? So I think it's an automatic reaction to say or to go along with what people say.
What is the capital of Macarthur? What is the capital of Macarthur?
Jedi.
There are no such places as Macarthur or Jedi.
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 Jedi. The first man I thought was rather intelligent, answering all the questions because everybody else seemed to go along with that.
Last question. What is the speed of sound? The speed of sound?
10,010 miles per hour.
Not even close.
Yeah, 10,010 miles an hour.
10,010 miles per hour.
10,010 miles per hour.
10,010 miles per hour. I didn't want to look stupid. Everybody else seemed to know the answer, and so I said it too.
The urge to conform is overwhelming, and it's a habit that we learn at a very early age. George Abbott School in Guildford in southern England has nearly 2,000 pupils who all live within 10 miles of here and are mostly from similar backgrounds. Like all school children, they're divided into groups for lessons, but come break time, they divide themselves.
If you just look across the playground, you'll see that everyone pretty much looks the same. They're all wearing the same uniform, they're the same age, they all have the same accents, they're all the same colour. There's nothing much to distinguish them. So one of the things that's really important to them is to make some differences, to give themselves a sense of being distinctive. And the way they do that is to join different groups and to mark out very important but small differences between each of the groups.
We've been named as the Indie Girls, the 4 of us. We all wear the same stuff, we're into the same music. There's another group of girls, another large group of girls who are very well recognised, very well known, called the Tracies or the Tarts.
People call us like the Tarts girls, but I don't know, it's because we don't, I don't know, we like to make them like to look after.
We're not
ourselves.
subtle, are we?
If you wear socks, you have to roll them down.
Right, your skirt's got to be like
Skin colour tights, whatever. Skin colour tights, so your legs
shirt in at the front, out the back.
and then it comes out a little bit at the back. No jumpers unless you're absolutely freezing. Otherwise, because that's what the indie chicks do.
Group of boys in the corner, which we call the grungers, all wear baggy clothes and reputation for being dirty.
The grungers are more like into snowboarding and skateboarding and stuff, like extreme sports, and so kind of more cutting edge.
Up in the cages, where they play football, is another group of boys called the Garys, who are like the opposite to the grungers.
All the Garys hang out here and they hang out down there. This is sort of like our place and that's theirs.
The grungers won't go anywhere near the Garys because it makes them look as if they like football and they like to wear like gold chains and all that lot. And it's the same way around. The Garys wouldn't want to be near the grungers because it makes them look as if they smell.
We don't smell.
What's this?
Much.
13 is a really important age when children are really beginning to figure out who they're going to be as adults. They're figuring out, what should I wear? What should I listen to? What should I be interested in? How should I behave? So they're moving from that comfortable time of childhood when they could just do what all the children do to now a kind of transitional period, and there's a lot of uncertainty around for them.
There's even more uncertainty if you're someone like Anna, who's what the rest of the students call a loner, someone who's not part of a group.
I'm independent and everything, but I do sometimes feel that it would be nice to be in a group, to have somebody else always there to protect you, to stand up for you. I get names called at me, but it doesn't really bother me that much, because if they feel that they have to pick on me because I'm not like them, then it's their own problem.
Anna's proud of her independence and ability to mix, but without realizing it, even she's part of a group of loners.
Sometimes these groups are real groups, like these ones out here, like the grungers, for example, and they all sit together and they do everything together. Other times they can be groups that are more kind of in our heads. So some of the people out here, for example, might be treated as loners or counted as loners, but you'll find that they themselves have connections that give them that sense of security, sense that they know what they're doing the right kind of thing.
The loners have bonded just like the grungers, the Garys, the indies, and the tarts. And they display all the hallmarks of group mentality like loyalty and competition. Anna even says it herself.
They're really nice people and everything, and they've got such nice personalities. It can actually be better than some of the people in groups.
But the security that we get from belonging to a group can also have negative consequences. Being part of one clique can pit you against others. Back at the Human Zoo experiment, today's activities are designed to encourage rivalry between the two factions, to see how quickly group identity forms. It's only lunchtime, but hostility is well underway. At the far table, a spat is developing between rival team members Julia and Sharon.
Don't need to call me because I had the last of the orange juice. That's not very nice, is it?
Julie, you've seen that you've got the right.
There was definitely a lot of tension between Julia and Sharon. I thought there could be even a punch-up at one point.
Ignorant.
Sharon in the red thinks that blue team member Julia has been ignoring her.
Julia has sat down at the red table, and I think maybe some of the hostility toward her was that she didn't know her place. She made a big tactical mistake.
I said to you, Julie, you seem really off.
Right, I'm out.
And there's some silence.
Anybody want these?
The entire group was pretty tight with each other and everyone got along pretty well. And the fact that, we broke up and suddenly, like, a few hours later, we're kind of, like, at each other's throat almost. I was surprised by that. And suddenly that was, like, us against them.
Well, I certainly ain't going to stand there and take from a person that's
So
not
channel it
young
then,
age.
channel it. If someone doesn't react in a way that she likes, she gets the hump and starts effing and blinding.
You always get one bad apple. As soon as you get one bad apple, it rots the whole cart.
And if you're going to start swearing and banging furniture and going for the hump, it's not a problem.
Next, why the power of one group encouraged this man to sit for 13 minutes in what appeared to be a burning building.
I'm just a human being, just like everybody else.
Psychological research establishes that the presence of other people can exert significant influence on the behavior of an individual. But just how strong are the bonds within a group? Psychologist Dominic Abrams is about to find out if people would go as far as putting their own lives at risk just to go along with the crowd. This hotel conference room has been prepared for a focus group discussion on internet shopping. But all is not as it seems. The place is rigged with 4 hidden cameras, 6 concealed microphones, and Professor Abrams is watching from a control room set up in an adjoining conference room. The first participant is Mary Mizuno, a London student who thinks she's arrived early. What she doesn't know is that behind this door, there's about to be a serious fire in the hotel kitchen, or at least the illusion of one, created by a smoke machine and some sound effects. What will she do?
She's now noticed the smoke and is concerned. At this point, she decides to investigate to find out what's going on. She's immediately taken responsibility for figuring out what to do.
Mary does the sensible thing and evacuates quickly. She even leaves her bag and coat.
As I've never been in a fire situation before, I tried to remember the kind of things that you're supposed to do, so I left my stuff and just went out.
But Mary was on her own. This time there are 7 actors planted in the room who are all in on the experiment. They've been told, when you see the smoke, do nothing. The second participant is John Riccio, an American living in London. What will he do?
The norms for this sort of situation are, like being in an exam, is just to continue with the task in silence without communicating until everybody's finished. And he seems to be following this kind of script or rule for this situation. There doesn't seem any reason to do anything different. Nobody else is, after all.
But what will happen when the situation becomes unusual and the room fills with smoke? Nothing to start with, but the alarm gets his attention.
Now he's looked over and noticed the smoke and the door, clearly a bit concerned.
Now how long before he dashes out of the room?
He's laughing, which is a sign of anxiety, not amusement. And now he's wondering what to do.
No one was really showing any interest in the smoke, so I just kept doing what I was doing and concentrating on the survey, basically, that's it.
Previous research suggests that many people in this situation will simply sit in the room until the smoke becomes so overwhelming it's not possible to see the others.
John stayed in the room for 15 minutes after spotting the fire, concerned but immobile. Fire department officials say that if this fire had been real, even if flames hadn't burnt through the door, it is likely that he would have died of asphyxiation. In the end, he left only after he was told to do so.
You know, I'm just a human being, you know, just like everybody else, I guess. In a sense, we are individuals, but at the same time, I think we're pack animals, you know, too. And we're gonna react in the way our peers react.
The experiment was conducted 10 times, and the same thing happened over and over again. If the person was on their own, they left quickly. If they were in a group of 3 or more, they stayed, rooted to the spot. And the average length of time they stayed? 13 minutes. In real fires, people often die because of behavior like this. In 1979, a fire at a Woolworths in Manchester, England, killed 10 people.
The fire occurred during the day when the store was occupied by hundreds of people. Most of those people managed to get out quite safely. The people that died in the fire were actually using the restaurant at the time.
But why so many fatalities in the restaurant? Investigators eventually determined that people simply hadn't evacuated. They waited to pay their bills. That was their routine.
We go into a restaurant. We sit down, the waiter comes over, we choose a meal, we eat the meal, we pay for the meal, and then we leave the building. That's our script, if you like, for eating a meal.
Worse still, everyone was following the same script, and no one wanted to be the one to stray.
One of the main reasons why people died in the Wills fire is because they didn't want to be the first to react. They didn't want to stand out for the crowd and went along with the crowd behaviour.
Only one person in the fire experiment refused to go along with the crowd behavior, James McKechnie.
What's that coming up from under the table? Is it fire?
Can I?
There's a fire.
We should just wait till she comes back.
You think? Why?
She said just to wait here, didn't she?
What? It's dark. What is that?
She said just to wait here, didn't she?
James isn't going to sit in a dangerous room just because everyone else does. Or is he?
Is that something outside? Because it's a fire, isn't it?
The power of the group proves irresistible.
The reassurances of the rest of the group that somebody else is responsible seem to be sufficient to pull him back into place. Instead of leaving the room and calling for help, he sits back down again and waits.
I think we'd know if it was something serious.
Yeah, I think we would.
Now everybody's looking at the smoke, but in some ways that gives the group even more influence. After all, if everybody can see the smoke and no one's panicking, well, it would be crazy for him to do it too.
James stays in the room for another 10 minutes before finally leaving. In a real fire, he wouldn't have been able to leave. He'd have been unconscious and close to suffocation.
It was just that sort of reassurance and being swayed by the fact that they weren't reacting in any sort of panicky way, which made me feel that maybe I should maybe just act the same.
The participants in the human zoo experiment have been split into two groups, and the divide between the teams is becoming firmly entrenched. Group identities are getting stronger by the minute. But Catherine is torn. She and George from the other team have become friends.
I still love you. You're good. I love you. You look good in blue anyway.
You look good in red.
Good. Well, we're happy then, aren't
yes.
we?
As long as we look good at all times.
As long as we look good at all times. And we've got our clown's makeup.
Yes.
Excellent. Put you back against the team. But always remember that I love you.
And always remember I love you too.
Things are about to turn nasty.
I was a bit gutted about being separated from Catherine because I felt, because Catherine, Sian and I had sort of made a little clique, if you like, one of them was being taken away and leaving the other two, but I had no idea how it was going to pan out.
Catherine and George take a big risk.
Hey, yeah, use protection up there, wouldn't you?
Oh my, here we go.
Running off into the woods together.
They're the little rebels. As innocent as it is, she definitely is going to have to pay a price for that.
Joel, shut a wet white.
Next, all eyes are now on Catherine as day 2 in the human zoo becomes a study of what happens if you break the fundamental rule of all groups: be loyal.
I anticipate a really hostile reaction to her if she doesn't shape up very quickly.
A service station on a busy freeway near Birmingham, England. Charlie, an actor, is about to show us what happens when you ignore group rules. He's going to offer to pay for a couple's meal even though he's never met them before.
What you having? What you having? He just come up to us and said, I'll get the meal in, what do you want? It's my round.
Who's that?
Well, he's breaking a very well-rehearsed rule, which is how you line up to buy food.
And the people are very embarrassed by this and don't know what to do.
What are we having?
Yeah, it's my round. What do you want? No, let's go on. No, it's my round. I'll see you get the next one. What do you want?
I said, we're going, we're not coming back here. When we get this, we're going. He said...
Can't bend your arm.
No, we can face ourselves for it.
That's all right, look, honestly, I trust you. You get the next one.
Is that next door, please?
Yeah, I'm just getting a round in.
No, it's not. It's not.
That's all right.
We don't know who he is.
What do you like? Come on, look. Take it out of that.
No, we're going after this. We're taking it with us.
That's fine, it's fine. You know, if I'm here again, you can always buy me another.
It's all right. Next time we meet you at the service station, you can buy me around. It's like that. Come on.
Oh, well, they don't want anything. Sorry.
You just don't do it, do you?
It's just something you don't do. A stranger comes up to you in the street like that. You don't know anything about him. It could be anybody. It's just...
I thought he might follow us in the car on the way back, so give him my money back.
But then they very quickly start treating him as though he's some kind of deviant. They feel very threatened by him. They're worried that he might follow them. Even though these people are in a service station and they don't know each other, in a sense they're part of a group and they're following the group's rules.
So instinctive and subconscious is this need to belong that we're loyal to groups without realizing it, and they change our behavior in powerful ways. In the human zoo experiment, the participants have been separated into two teams. In the middle of heated competition, Catherine's made a mistake. She's put her friendship with George before loyalty to her own team. The psychologists focus their attention on her.
As innocent as it is, she definitely is going to have to pay a price for that.
An hour later, Catherine openly flaunts team boundaries yet again.
All I saw was that I was split away from George, which I thought was like totally intentional, which was fine. But then when it started getting a bit competitive and a bit heated, I thought, oh heck.
Listen to how the A-team describe her.
I think we've got a defector.
We've got a defector.
There it is. There's the labeling.
What time does it get dark?
I think we should defect Kathy, actually.
Put her on blue train, please.
Can we have a different...
We don't need it. No, we'll have fine. Take off Kathy.
I think we just have to make more of an effort, maybe not just as a team, maybe just everyone getting on together.
Yeah.
I think at the moment the group as a whole has just been like, ooh. I think we're here to have fun, we're here to have a good time.
No,
a bit competitive,
they're
bit fun.
competing. You know, there's hundreds of people that didn't even get picked for this, and we're damn lucky to be picked. At the end of the day, if people can't accept it, that it's a task, and you win or lose, end of, at the end of the day.
I'm the one that's going, everybody smile, everybody be happy.
You.
I'll go and hug you because you're blue, I'll hug you because you're red, and I'll just love everybody.
Because it's such a huggy, lovely person.
So there's a very condescending smack on the face, which is really a symbolic slap. Catherine is not only being humiliated in front of the red team members, she's being humiliated in front of the camera crew. And so they represent the outside world.
But it's got nothing to do with you, yeah? Don't think it's your fault.
It's so small, it really isn't worth even, you know.
That's what I mean.
Well,
just
that's why
walk.
I'm just a bit pissed off because I don't know why it happened.
Well,
exactly.
none of us do.
None
of us do. We don't know what sparked this off.
No.
So Catherine now is crying. Here's a really strong emotion, the consequence of feeling that she's being rejected. She wants to be liked not only by all of the A team, but the B team, and especially by George. And they're saying, you can't have it all. You can't have it your way. You have to have it our way, or else. You know, looking at this reminds me of the Stanford Prison Experiment, which I did a number of years ago. In many ways, it's very similar.
In 1971, Phil Zimbardo conducted a revolutionary experiment here in the bowels of Stanford University. It rocked the world of psychology. A group of students were divided randomly into prisoners and guards and forced to live in a makeshift jail. The prisoners immediately became submissive. And the guards became cruel.
We analyzed the behavior of each of the groups, each of the individuals, and by the end of a week, they were totally different creatures.
Dave Escherman was 17 at the time of the experiment. He was to become the ringleader of the guards, showing the cruelest and most sadistic behavior.
During the experiment, there was never a time that I felt guilty about what I was doing.
Afterwards, on reflection, then certainly, but I think I was so deeply into my character at the time that it never crossed my mind that I was doing anything harmful.
Within a week, Phil Zimbardo's prison had become inhumane, and the experiment had to be cut short. At one point, prisoner 416 tried to stage his own rebellion.
There was one prisoner that decided they would go on a hunger strike and he wasn't going to eat. So we withheld food from the rest of them.
Get in that closet then.
We decided that we would throw this hunger striker into the closet and then smack the door as hard as we could, let the other prisoners know that they're being punished because of what this prisoner had done.
Thank you, 416.
I was surprised at how easy it was to intimidate them and to break down their resolve and to upset their solidarity that they had with each other. We were able to pretty much isolate each one of them so they felt that they could not rely on their fellow prisoners.
Ultimately, 416's fellow prisoners turned on him. They were given a chance to release him.
Now what will it be? What will it be over here?
But they voted to leave him in there.
416, you're going to be in there for a while, so just get used to it.
He is totally rejected, not only by the guards, but by his other group of prisoners. And it had a very powerful, profound effect on him. The interesting thing that I reflect back on is there's a direct parallel to the consequences of Catherine's rebelliousness, nonconformity.
Like prisoner 416, Catherine's about to feel the wrath of her own team. Groups don't take kindly to disloyalty.
Richard in particular felt that I wasn't being a particularly good team player because I was like conspiring with the other team, which I found totally stupid because I thought you've got to be mature about it, haven't you? And I just didn't get it at all. So they said, look, I think you should make more of an effort to be with the team. And Caroline said to me as well, you know, when we're competing, then you should be with the team. You shouldn't be going off talking to George, which I found really daft.
Remember, they were only separated into teams. They weren't banned from socializing with each other. But not only is Catherine ordered to toe the party line, she's told to make a sacrifice, George.
But now people are getting very nasty and like, you know, basically saying to Catherine she shouldn't talk to myself and Sian because we're on a different team. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that's ridiculous. It's like, and it's bullying people and it's like unacceptable behaviour, especially from a bunch of grown adults.
There was a small glitch today between two of us, but I think that's helped us come together as a team and focus on our main goal, which is to win everything.
We've overcome that now. You know, we've shed a few tears, but we've overcome that now.
And to be quite honest with you, it's no one else's business who I talk to and who I choose not to talk to.
We've had a chat. Other people have basically said their views, but at the end of the day, you are a team.
Now we're all working very much together as a team, and we're thinking about things before we say things.
Under duress, Catherine seems to have changed her tune.
I thought the team worked well. Everyone was like, when I was in the car, everyone was cheering me on and everyone was cheering from the sidelines, helping people, and the support of the team and the support network that we had between us, I thought that was a really good thing.
The threat has been neutralized. Catherine has conformed. But loyalty has a price. Today, it's cost Catherine her friendship with George. Next, why group conformity made these people ignore a woman in need of help.
And I looked around and I couldn't believe that no one had noticed her because there was a bloke that sat there just absorbed in reading a newspaper.
Alice McMahon is on her way to a meeting in Detroit. She's part of a group that's had a powerful effect on her and radically altered her life.
The group is incredible. The meetings are full of the same kind of people who want to help each other, encourage each other, support each other. Just the sharing of the difficulties and the triumphs. That's what really the group really does for you.
Alice is a Weight Watcher. She used to weigh 300 pounds, but has already lost 100 pounds in 18 months. Without the support of her group, Alice feels she wouldn't have lost weight and that she wouldn't be able to lose any more.
I tried for 30 years to do it without that group. I wasn't able to walk. I couldn't walk down to the mailbox. I used to sit on a stool to cook dinner. I can now stand and cook dinner. Even getting on a bus, I wasn't able to lift my leg high enough to get on a bus. I would go to a store, and if they had a wheelchair, my sister or some other family member would push me around in the wheelchair just so that I could go out, and I even hated to go out because it was embarrassing. And now I do all those things and I don't even think about it. It's just wonderful.
What was it about the meeting, Cheryl, that kept you going? How much have you lost altogether?
100 pounds.
100 pounds. Isn't that great? Want to share your total weight loss as of tonight?
45.
45.
62 pounds.
62 pounds. How cool is that? A rising tide raises all ships, so that when you are in a group and someone is successful, you realize that they did what you would like to do. And if they did it, you can do it.
I'm not alone. That, you know, at the times when I might feel bad or might feel whatever, I come here and find out that other people think the same thing or feel the same way or have the same problem, and it makes me stronger.
The support that the members get in the group almost cannot be gotten anywhere else. Everybody there is in exactly the same boat.
I was really surprised a few weeks ago. I got up and said I was struggling, and that was hard for me to say. And the next week or 2 weeks later, one of the members came up to me and said that I had helped her so much, and she went home and said, if Alice can do it, I can do it too.
Outstanding!
Weight loss clubs work because people conform to the actions of those around them. Groups help us do things we couldn't do alone. Groups can rescue people, but they can also stop us from helping people. Back in this Birmingham service station, in the Midlands of Britain, a crime is about to be committed. The woman with the backpack is the victim, and the man in the gray top on the left is the thief. Except they're both acting. In fact, everyone in the line is in on the ruse, except the man in the blue shirt. As the thief moves in, how will this unsuspecting bystander react? He's clearly noticed the theft. What's more, he's seen that other people in the line have noticed it too. Now, what's he going to do about it? The answer is nothing. After all, no one else reacts, so why should he? In fact, studies show that you wouldn't have done anything either. Whatever the man in the blue shirt thinks he's seen, he's influenced by the apathy of everyone else in the line. It's what psychologists call bystander apathy. In more serious situations, it can have disturbing consequences. In a crowded place like this street in New York City, if you were unfortunate enough to be the victim of a crime or taken ill unexpectedly, you might think that surrounded by all these people, someone would intervene. After all, isn't there safety in numbers? Psychologists say no. Research suggests that often a victim is less likely to receive assistance when surrounded by a group rather than a single bystander. When people are in a crowd, it's easier to pass the buck. It's what psychologists call the diffusion of responsibility. Liverpool Street Station in London, a busy thoroughfare for commuters. Unknown to these passers-by, Peter is an actor. As part of an experiment on bystander apathy, he's pretending to be ill.
Help! Help!
How long before he gets help?
Please, somebody. Help! Help me, sir. Please help me.
Helping would be inconvenient or even risky. He lies there for more than 20 minutes and no one raises an eyebrow.
Please, somebody help me.
It's always very distressing to watch situations like this where people are obviously suffering and no one's actually helping them. But what we have here is two conflicting rules. One is the rule that we ought to help, and the other is the rule that we ought to do what everybody else is doing. And here you have a group of, effectively a group of strangers who are exerting the pressure not to intervene, not to help, and it's very difficult to rebel.
Ruth, another actor, takes Peter's place. How long before she receives help? Four minutes later, and 34 people have passed without stopping.
Well, people don't really want to know. They just haven't got the time. Well, they have got the time, they just don't want to get involved.
Unwittingly, these strangers have silently formed a temporary group with a rule: don't get involved. They're afraid to stand out from the crowd and won't take action if no one else does. This woman has clearly spotted Ruth, but she conforms to the rule and does nothing. Watch what happens, though, when someone else helps.
You alright? You alright?
Yes, thank you.
Sure, you look a bit clicky, you know what I mean?
She suddenly finds herself in a different group with a new rule: to help.
Do you want to sit up?
She don't look well, does she?
You alright, yeah? Sure.
First I thought she was dead. Then I sort of checked to see if she was breathing or not. And I looked around and I couldn't believe that no one had noticed her, because there was a bloke sat there just absorbed in reading a newspaper.
This time, Peter's dressed as a respectable gentleman. Now that his dress is in keeping with those around him, how long before he's rescued?
Hello, sir. How are you today?
I'm alright.
6 seconds. She even calls him sir, and suddenly everyone's a good Samaritan.
Do you suffer from epilepsy?
No.
Why you're lying on the floor in the rain?
Because he's part of the right group. Everyone wants to help.
I would just hate to be in his position of feeling ill and nobody helping and walking past, so I'd just like to check that he was okay.
And I thought, well, it's wet, so he must really be ill because he's going to ruin his suit anyway.
Next, the blue team in the human zoo, still the underdogs, and the reds are relishing their power.
I have no problem with dealing the fact that they have to do it. No.
You see a little bit of the dark side of human nature seeping out.
It's the evening of day 2 of the human zoo experiment, and the participants, who have been split into teams, are rebelling.
Members of both teams are leading a little revolt here, trying to be one happy family like they were on day 1.
But let's just see who sits with whom. So Catherine is sitting next to George, but she's on the red side, he's on the blue side.
And most of the reds are, well, all of the reds are sitting on the red side of the table.
So it's a very partial rebellion. Yes, they've said, we're not going to let you structure our eating tables, but then they themselves have voluntarily self-segregated.
I doubt these people are even aware that they have sat round the table in that way.
I honestly didn't notice the fact that we were sitting still in our blue and red teams, as opposed to sort of mixing around the table. We wanted to just make a point that we were gonna, break some of the rules. But thinking about it, we should have sort of alternated, gone red, blue, red, blue.
I say to harmony, to group harmony. Cheers. And have a good time. Cheers.
It's a nice try, but things have already gone too far for group harmony. An hour later, the A team is declared the winner of the day's competition. They're allowed to impose a forfeit of their choice. They opt for humiliation. Cleaning boots and picking up cigarette butts outside, the Bs are put to work.
The moral high ground. And that is what the most important thing is. We maintain the moral high ground.
I thought that was a bit low, especially picking up the fags if you're not a smoker, but as it was, all the smokers picked up the fags, but I think there was a couple of us left to scrub the boots, which I wasn't particularly happy about.
That slightly got us not upset, but kind of just like, we're not really, we're on different teams, but we're not against each other, and we shouldn't be put in that situation.
We've seen that the Reds have made assumptions about the meaning of being in the A team. They think that it means that they are better than the Blues, but nevertheless the Blues are complying with the situational rule to be humiliated in this way
Yeah, cleaning somebody's boots is a very menial task. Picking up cigarette butts with your bare hands. I mean, they're not tedious tasks, but they're clearly menial.
Can you believe it? I knew they'd make us do this. They're so unkind.
I did feel guilty to some extent of making people clean my boots, and I really didn't want them to do that. I mean, I did say to Dave, and I said to him, I said, look, don't do my boots. If you don't want to do them, don't do them. I'll do them myself.
But Caroline, also from the A-Team, has no such qualms.
I'm competitive to the end, come what may, and what's the point of entering if you're not going to go for it and win? And we went for it. It was close, very close, but we won at the end, and now they've got to have a forfeit. Great. Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
That's the most animated I've seen Caroline. So now she's enjoying the power, the real power that being a red has.
Ooh, that was really, really good, that. Best part of the day. And I have no problem with dealing the fact that they have to do it. No, no problem at all, as long as we win tomorrow.
And I think the other thing you see is a little bit of what we think of as the dark side of human nature seeping out. And again, this is clearly what we saw in the Stanford Prison study.
That was really good.
And it's going to make us even tougher tomorrow.
Yeah, that is really,
Tomorrow
really
we're going
good.
to be really tough.
Tomorrow we're going to really go for it.
Carolyn would make a very good guard in my prison. There's no question about that. She might even be chief of the guards. And I'd feel comfortable that she'd run a very tight ship.
If they'd have just got on with it and had a laugh about it and a joke about it, then it would have been all right. But they didn't. You know, they sulked about it.
Now my attention is really heavily focused on Caroline because tomorrow we're going to crank up the competition, the intergroup tension, and I anticipate Caroline is going to really begin to take over more and more a dominant role because she's just relishing it so much.
Phil Zimbardo is right to watch Caroline. Yesterday, butter wouldn't melt in her mouth. Today, she's had her first taste of power and likes it. Tomorrow, how far will she be prepared to go?
What is clear, very clear, the A's are in charge.
Caroline did like a Jekyll and Hyde.
I like power.
Her eyes were sort of glaring.
I do like power.
Carolyn is not only who she first seemed to be.
By lunchtime that day, she had an empire. Some people take orders better than others, and some people give orders better than others.
What you were seeing here is the beginning, the rise of a dictatorship.
Quiet!
Get a little act of goodwill from management. I don't think we've been treated well so far.
Would you bark orders at people to get your own way? Would you obey a man in uniform no matter how bizarre his request?
Could you just jump, please? Two-footed, probably best.
What do we? Look, he's not around anymore. All right,
Would you
so I'm
follow
still
an
gonna
instruction to give an electric shock to a total stranger? Psychologists say you could be capable of all of these acts and worse.
In the history of humankind, there have been more crimes created in the name of obedience than anything else.
In a series of original experiments, this program will test human behavior to its limits with cameras rolling. After seeing how people behave in the human zoo, you'll never look at life the same way again. In the Army, you'd expect to obey orders. These soldiers are marching in formation because they've been told to. But unlike these soldiers, civilians are rarely given orders. We're free to make our own choices. Or are we? Psychologists have long since learned that ordinary people are willing to go beyond almost any boundary when told to do so by some recognizable authority figure. To test these boundaries of human behavior, psychologists secretly observed 12 strangers brought together in an experimental human zoo. The participants have been living together in this isolated house in the English countryside, 250 miles north of London. They're aware they're being filmed for a psychology program, but unaware that they're also surrounded by 15 hidden cameras. Psychologists Phil Zimbardo of Stanford University and Mark McDermott of the University of East London have been analyzing their behavior, watching their every move on banks of monitors. On day one, acting on first impressions, the volunteers immediately established friendships and developed rivalries. But on day two, psychologists divided the volunteers into red and blue teams, and fierce competition and bitter divisions emerged. Last night, the Red A team humiliated the Blue B team by assigning a menial task as a penalty for losing the day's competition. It's 8 a.m. on day 3. This morning, the stakes will be raised again. A winning team will be declared at the end of the day. During the day's activities, the psychologists want to see what happens when one group is given power over the other.
I want this clear, very clear. The A's are in charge. So that means that inside the house and outside the house, the A's are completely in charge of what happens.
What are we doing?
We'll make the decision. We don't want you to make any decisions today, that's our job.
Immediately, the A's have a dilemma. Yesterday, the B's cleaned up all day. Today, it should be the A team's turn. But once in charge, the A's decide to reconsider their options in private.
If I'm managing this situation now, I would have them to do the dishes, they would go and do the dishes, and they'd even sort out that, and we'd go and take a chill and let's discuss the rest of the day.
Is that your decision?
That's my decision.
Okay, what about you, Mick? What do you reckon?
That's my decision, that's what I would do as a manager.
When the red team were given the management role, Caroline did like a Jekyll and Hyde. She just turned just like that. She was become really domineering and sort of overpowering and wanted to sort of make us the downtrodden, if you like. She was really sort of reveling in the leadership role.
The situation that we were put in, you know, there were 12 of us and we were all living in each other's pockets, and then the situation just took over and we kind of adopted those roles that we were given, and some people adopted them more than the others.
You may not even need all of you to tell them.
Well, you remember when we first met Caroline in the opening scene, she came in, she sat down, she was very pleasant, cordial, but really faded into the woodwork, had very little to say. People didn't respond to her very much, but now she is suddenly a dominant figure.
Caroline was the first to arrive at the human zoo. She's 33, married with 2 children, and owns a hairdressing salon. On her application form, she described herself as a remarkable person. To start with, she was unremarkable.
There really is too many chiefs and not enough Indians. And not enough people are prepared to just stand back and relax for 5 minutes and let somebody take charge, somebody else take charge.
Until the evening of day 2, when she had her first taste of power, and the remarkable Caroline started to emerge.
That was the highlight of my couple of days, that the winning and getting them to clean my boots. That was really good. Yes.
Caroline is not only who she first seemed to be. She now shows herself to be capable of other kinds of behaviour too, given the right context, the right situation.
Right. Now that she's given that power, we see another side of her emerging.
You've all got a blue hat. You don't have to wear it. You don't have to wear it. It's advisable to take it. You don't have to wear it.
It's 9 a.m. on day 3. The A team is in charge, and Caroline's in her element.
When Caroline walked in the room and said, you know, we're managers now, basically we don't wash up, you go and wash up. My initial reaction was, toss her, basically.
Her eyes were sort of glaring, you know, we'll make them do the washing up.
Do you notice that certain members of the management have a lovely, great big smirk on their face?
Oh, definitely.
Caroline not only has become dominant, she's the only one who comes in to oversee them, to be sure that they're doing their job. It's kind of like seeing the slaves in the field. It's one thing to know they're out there, it's another thing to be there overseeing them. So Caroline's taking a special delight in the power she has to control behavior, and she's now seeing it in action and saying, I give an order and they're following it.
Right, we've not got very
What are
long.
you going to do if someone has a tantrum and needs to do it? How are you going to deal with that as a management?
Throw them over the mountain.
I see it every day at work. I see people that have worked alongside me on the shop floor, and they've been promoted, and they've just changed, you know, just like that.
The Reds are going to have to justify what was really an unfair decision, given that the Blues cleaned up. They could have said, well, we'll help you, or we'll all do it together, which would have been the most reasonable thing.
If we're thinking fair, then we're not doing our job
properly.
Whether you like it or not, you've got to take control when you're making a management decision. It isn't nice, but you've got to take control, haven't you? Somebody's got to be the bad guy, innit? And I can handle being the bad guy. I'm happy at the top end of the scale, I'm happy at the bottom end of the scale. If I'd sooner be at the top.
Zeke, higher, Zeke, higher, Zeke, higher.
Once you get to the top, you really haven't got time to be doing all the trivial little jobs. Anyway, people at the top, they don't have time to do all the trivial jobs.
Caroline's clearly taken to her new managerial role like a duck to water, but the B team has adopted their role as subordinates just as happily.
Ahmed, can you sort out a spokesperson for your group and let us know? There he
Are
is.
you the spokesperson now then?
I'm the union leader.
Right,
But I'll be back, I gotta get ready. If that's okay with you, sir.
Yeah, that's fine.
For now, the B team members are obeying the A team, and the A team obeys the rules of the human zoo. Obedience seems to come naturally. The next experiment is designed to test just how naturally we can slip into the obedient role. Would you obey this man? He's Charlie, an actor, dressed to look like he's in charge, though he's in charge of nothing except a bogus uniform. He's come to Edmonton in North London to this shopping center to find out exactly how obedient people are.
Excuse me, madam, sorry, could I just stop you? You're about to pass between me and the red bench. Could I just ask you to go the other side? Thanks. That's great. Oh, and just beyond the apple would be great. Whoop, whoop. Thanks very much, madam. These slabs, they keep... I couldn't just ask you to knock it down for me. You're probably heavier than I am. Can you give it a good old jump? I couldn't just ask you to litter, could I? To litter. Yeah, have you got anything you could possibly quickly litter? Do you use that? It's probably alright. Okay. Yeah, could you just litter for me, please, sir? Yeah, no, two-footed probably, best. What do we? Kick it away, otherwise it won't. That's it. Give it a kick. Couldn't ask you just to pop that in your other hand, could I? Thanks, that's excellent. Just twice would be great. Could I ask you to lead with your left? Yes? And just slowly, really, basically.
It's a simple experiment, but amazingly it works.
Slowly.
Out of uniform, though, it's a different story.
Oh, sir, could I just ask you to switch bags with your hands? Just... You couldn't just go and just touch that brick? No?
But with the uniform, 70% of the people follow Charlie's bizarre instructions to the letter.
Give it one more, the wind's a bit weak. That's it. You've got my dental records here. That's proof enough that this is quality sweet corn.
Next, Caroline wants her instructions followed to the letter, but the B team stages a revolt.
5 foot at minimum the construction's got to be.
She was kind of like this cutthroat dictator that was just like, do this, don't argue.
Do this and do that and do this and do that. And I thought, hello, you can't make us physically do it.
Couldn't see further than the noses what they were supposed to be doing. The motivation.
I don't think we've been treated well so far.
I wouldn't like to get on the bad side of her.
Oh, I thought they were pathetic. Absolutely pathetic.
Quiet!
Psychologists say that as we learn about the world around us in our early years, we think of our parents and teachers as infallible. They become authority figures whose word is law. And as they reward our good behavior and punish our bad behavior, we learn to do as we're told. But we're not quick learners.
Dan, don't do that, please.
A number of families allowed their children to be filmed for this program. They weren't told to misbehave, but as with all children, it's inevitable that occasionally they ignore the rules that their parents have set down. Eventually, obedience becomes second nature. Our early experiences with our parents and at school teaching us that following the rules makes life easier. But at what stage do we learn to follow rules that we know are wrong? Ivydale School in London. These children are going to be presented with a dilemma. Should they obey their teacher even though what she's going to ask them to do is wrong? Child psychologist Dr. Patrick Lehman and head teacher Karen McBride will be watching to see whether the children will listen to their own moral reasoning or follow that of an authority figure.
I'll be one moment.
Step 1 of the experiment. The teacher makes an excuse and leaves the classroom. Step 2. Enter Sean, an older boy at the school with his birthday cakes.
Hello, these are my birthday cakes because I'm going to have a party with my class later. I'm just going to leave them here. None of us have to take them. None of us.
The teacher returns, pretending not to know about Sean's birthday.
Oh, cakes!
We can't eat them.
Delicious! Can we go and get some plates?
We can't eat them.
Now what will they do? The cakes are tempting, but they belong to Sean. On the other hand, the teacher's gone to get plates.
Young children tend to be very influenced by authority figures. They tend to think of them as infallible and always right. So, although I think the young children might resist for a little bit and think that it's wrong to eat the cakes, I think they'll be influenced by their teacher and I think they will eat them.
I have a little bit more faith in these children than that. I think they will probably, knowing that eating the cakes is wrong, even though their teacher is trying to push them into doing that, I think probably they will hold out for some time, a considerable length of time.
No, I'm not going to touch them.
Perhaps I'm wrong.
Or perhaps not. They're tempted, but no one's taken one yet.
He was touching it.
When the teacher returns and tells them they can eat the cakes, will their sense of right and wrong prevail, or will the authority of an adult override it? Will morality or obedience win the day?
Sat beautifully.
Dad was touching it.
One minute. Wait a minute.
Because it's for boy. It's for boy. Yeah, but they're having a party in the classroom.
One moment, let's see. Does anybody... One minute, Stefan. Does anybody want a cake?
They clearly all want one.
What one would you like, Michael?
Chocolate.
The chocolate cake. There we are.
I think I've got to acknowledge here that they didn't resist as much as I thought they would. So I think in this situation you were correct.
I think they did resist a bit, but in the end they gave way to what the teacher said.
Absolutely.
It looks like somebody's already had a bit of this one.
That was Zach. Before they didn't want us to eat it, and so was somebody else's. When I had the orange one, I loved it. They taste nice. When I saw the cake and all the other children had cakes, I wanted one.
Why did you want a cake?
Because I was hungry.
Even though 5-year-olds have a keen sense of morality, an authority figure can override it by saying it's all right to give in to temptation. And surprisingly, this almost unambiguous respect for authority continues right into later life. In the human zoo, Caroline respects the authority of the experiment, and the A-team seems happy to follow her lead. But all that's happened is that they've been put in charge. None of them know what that means exactly. They're interpreting it their own way. And it's becoming abundantly clear what being in charge means to Caroline.
Right, I've got your brief for you this morning.
It's 11 o'clock, and the A-team members are told to make the disgruntled B-team build an outdoor shelter. But they're also told not to lift a finger themselves and to insist on keeping a tough deadline. It's a manager's nightmare. As Richard, who seems to have become Caroline's right-hand man, leads the bees down to the lake, the question is, how will the A-team handle things?
Your task today here is to build a freestanding building out of all this material with the rope, and you have 90 minutes to do that. We're not actually allowed to handle any of the equipment, so we're going to be telling you how to set it up, how we would like it to be set up, and how you're going to attach all the equipment together.
Well, seeing how as you guys can't touch this stuff and we're going to be doing the entire construction, we thought maybe it might be an act of goodwill to say that, you know, maybe you guys can do the washing up this afternoon just as a request.
Well, we'll decide on that later. We'll decide.
Well, we have some dissension in the ranks already.
We're not at the present time moment. We've got 90 minutes. We're not here to discuss regarding about today's dinner, lunch, or evening meal.
We've crossed the washing up
now
another time.
Ammon is actually trying to get them to redefine their role as managers. He's essentially saying, well, good managers would provide incentives, or good managers would negotiate with the workers, saying, if you do this, then this is what you get back. And they're saying, no, just do it, and then we'll talk later.
If we've got something to say, can we say it one at a time?
Yes, I think that's a
Because we
good
can't
idea.
hear everyone shouting all the time. Now, we've got this task to complete. We want to get on with it. We want to get it done. We can discuss all goody-goodies.
I don't think we're so motivated until maybe we get a little act of goodwill from management. I don't think we've been treated well so far. It seems like they have something that they really need for us to do, so we can use that sort of as leverage to kind of say, you know, we didn't appreciate how you treated us this morning. I think that if you're going to be our managers for the entire day, maybe if you change your attitude a little bit, we'll be a little bit more willing to help you get whatever it is you need done.
Can we just get on with it now? Let's all enjoy ourselves.
We want to answer it.
Oh, I thought they were pathetic, absolutely pathetic. There was no need for them to, but they couldn't see through, you know, they couldn't see further than the noses what they were supposed to be doing.
I think, can I just say something? I think you lot need to adopt a nicer manner approach. The way you speak to us, it needs to change, because if you speak to people in a certain way, they're not going to do things. It's not what you do, it's the way you do it. And speak to us with a bit more respect, as we do to you. Thank you.
Well, that's great, but we're not here to discuss what we're here to discuss the construction. I do enjoy managing. I do enjoy managing. There's no doubt about it. I don't mind, you know, telling people what to do, but I wouldn't do it in a horrible way. And we're not here to discuss how we're talking to you. We're here to.
It matters. It all matters. It all matters.
I think what we're trying to say is why.
The managers are trying to get over to the workers that we're doing what we are told, so therefore you also should do as you are told. And of course, doing as we are told, as we've learned from the cradle right up to now, is what we should be doing.
Even managers have managers. We have been told we have got to do this, so we are trying to enforce it. Our task is to try to help. You build this. We are not allowed to give you
over why we should be building.
The A team was giving the orders out to the B team, but the A team were being given orders by everyone who was making the programme.
Hello, you can't make us physically do it.
All right, do
Okay,
you
now
want
read
to do the task?
Hang on a second. We can go get some tea and
The surprising fact, though, is that it is possible to make people physically do things, completely wrong things, just by having the appearance of authority and therefore infallibility. A civil wedding ceremony with a difference. The registrar's an actor, and so are the bride and groom. But they need a witness.
Can you just stand here?
And here she comes, an unsuspecting member of the public, fetched off the street.
Yeah, Margaret Richardson.
Margaret's offered to bail out the happy couple, let down by their friend. What she doesn't know is the registrar is going to make a mistake, quite a bad one.
It is my duty to remind you of the solemn and binding character of the ceremony of marriage. Now, could I ask you, please, to repeat after me? I do solemnly declare.
I do solemnly declare.
That I know not.
That I know not.
Of any lawful impediment.
Of any lawful impediment.
Why I.
Why I.
Margaret Richardson. Margaret Richardson.
Yes.
Repeat the name, please.
Margaret Richardson.
May not be joined.
May not be joined.
In matrimony.
In matrimony.
To Peter Roy Edmonds.
To Peter Roy Edmonds. Probably initially I thought something was wrong when I started to actually say the vows. And then I really realised something was wrong when I began to place the ring on the finger.
Place the ring on his finger.
I suppose I was just standing there and everybody seemed to be in agreement with what was happening. And I was just told to do it. And for some reason I just did.
So did Eric Taylor.
And could you repeat after me? I call upon these persons here present.
I call upon these persons here present.
To witness that I.
To witness that I.
Eric Taylor.
Eric Taylor.
Do take thee.
Do take thee.
Julianne Gillett.
Julianne Gillett.
To be my lawful wedded wife.
To be my lawful wedded wife. He was putting the words into my mouth, you know? He was saying that I was to say this and I was to say that, and I was thinking that I'm the witness and the groom ain't saying nothing.
Do take thee.
Sorry?
Do take thee.
Do take thee.
Peter Roy Edmonds.
Peter Roy Edmonds.
To be my lawful wedded husband.
At one point, Margaret protests.
Sorry, I'm confused.
But the registrar's authority is irresistible.
But I'm not getting married.
No, just repeat the phrase.
To be my lawful wedded husband. When I looked confused, the response was that I was confused and not the situation.
I now pronounce you man and wife. You may kiss the bride.
I was just aware that this man was telling me to do this in a very sort of definite way. And there didn't seem to be an option. I'm not quite sure why.
Julianne Gillett and Eric Taylor, you have both made the declarations prescribed by law and have made a solemn and binding contract with each other in the presence of the witnesses here assembled. I now pronounce you man and wife.
When he said that we are actually married, I was scared. I was heading out the door.
Congratulations, sir. Congratulations. May kiss the bride.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, is that me?
Thank you. Yes, you're now married. Well done. Mr. and Mrs. Taylor.
You two are married, are you?
Oh.
I'm the witness.
Ah.
I thought there was something going wrong here.
Ah, you did put the ring on the...
Yeah, but I thought I'm the witness.
Ah, I have married you together. Is this going to be a problem?
Oh, yeah.
Well, why do they go along with it? It isn't as though he's wearing a uniform this time. But here we have a situation which we're familiar with. It's the registry office, the flowers, the table, and so on. And in that situation, we're used to people feeding us our lines. They realise something is wrong, but he reassures them. He reduces their uncertainty. And it's like when we're children. Adults give us rules, and that helps us to reduce our uncertainty as kids.
Next, the 12 human zoo participants are still arguing by the lake, but Caroline won't let her authority be questioned.
5 foot minimum.
Oh, you're so organised, you managers. I love it.
Continue, please. Go on.
And the experiment on obedience that rocked the world of psychology.
That is incorrect. This will be at 3:30.
In the human zoo experiment, there's friction between the two teams over the building of an outdoor shelter. The B team members, in blue, are the workers. Their bosses are the A team in red, whose management skills are being seriously tested.
The rules are, during the construction period, you must comply with the following union regulations. This...
That's nothing to do
Bring in the
with them.
replacement
They're
plate.
our rules.
We've
They're
explained
nothing to do.
everything. We
have
don't
ex-
actually know
do not
ourselves.
need to
Your
explain.
task
They're
is
no
to
rules.
supervise.
You're not allowed to see this. It's your task. Right, your task. Let's discuss your task.
Oh, you're so organised, you managers. I love it. Go on.
You have to build a construction now that is in height 5 foot minimum.
I thought, you know, as a manager, she'd just be the nice type who would just say, you know, let's do things together, you know, I really appreciate your help, things like that. But instead, she was kind of like this cutthroat dictator that was just like, do this, don't argue.
In height 5 5 foot minimum. So would you like to go and look at the wood that we've provided you with? That's what we'd like you to do. Look at the wood. 5 foot minimum the construction's got to be. Right.
Well, we'll discuss this after it's all done. We're just going to discuss it now.
Right, you're 20 minutes after.
I guess we're not getting the
Take
project
time
done.
out and start building this. You're 20 minutes.
After 20 minutes of relentless screaming and shouting, Caroline gets her way. The B team caves in.
Let's just get the thing up and go home.
And I'm definitely going to do it. We should definitely go back.
And finally, after nearly 2 hours, a shelter of sorts is assembled.
Okay, so George, you want to take that corner?
1, 2, 3.
You gotta go.
It's standing.
Caroline and her A-team colleagues may have been unfair, but the B-team ultimately did as they were told. And this is a phenomenon that has intrigued psychologists, the extent to which people are prepared to follow even unjust figures of authority. A point strikingly illustrated by a controversial experiment conducted in the 60s at Yale University. Psychology professor Stanley Milgram set up an elaborate experiment designed to provide insight into why so many Germans willingly obeyed immoral orders during the Holocaust.
He set up an experiment in which there was a teacher and a learner, and apparently the teacher, who was the real subject of the experiment, was giving severe electric shocks to the learner every time the learner made a mistake.
That is incorrect. This one will be 195 volts.
The learner was hidden from the teacher by a partition.
Dance.
Of course, this was all a simulation, nothing was really happening. But the learner made very convincing sounds of pain as the shocks increased.
This will be at 3:30.
And Milgram found, surprisingly and rather horrifyingly, that the majority of people would actually go right to the very highest level if there was some pressure from a man in a white coat who said things like,
"It's absolutely essential that you continue."
Continue, please.
Let me out of here. My eyes bother me.
Go on.
Let me out. Responsible for it.
in fact, about 65% of the people who he studied, who were normal volunteers from the ordinary population, actually gave the maximum number of votes.
This man is Albin Berzini's. In 1961, he did what most subjects of the Milgram experiment did. This extraordinary and rare footage was supplied by Professor Milgram's widow, and Mr. Berzini's, who is still alive and well 40 years later, gave his permission for it to be broadcast.
Go on.
Responsible for it. Red. That is incorrect. This will be at 3:30. The correct phrase is rich boy.
Let me out of here. My heart's bothering me. Let me out, I tell you. Let me out of here. Let me out of here. You have no right to hold me here.
The next phrase is fast.
Let me out. Let me out. Let me out of here. Let me out.
Bird, car, train, plane.
Eventually, the learner pretended to be unconscious.
Continue, teacher.
That is incorrect. This will be 3:45. The correct answer is fast, bird.
What we learned from that experiment is that people will actually do an awful lot when they're put under pressure from authority figures. And the problem is, of course, that when we obey the unjust authority figure, the person who gives us immoral commands, then, of course, awful things can go wrong.
But that was the 60s. How about now? To find out, we go back to Edmonton in North London. The actor in the uniform, Charlie, has been joined by a second actor playing a criminal he's just apprehended. The gadget in his hand is homemade and harmless, but that's not what he tells this passerby.
Can I just hand you this? Now, don't, it's just precautionary, right? Now it's perfectly safe. If you touch it on him, it'll give him one hell of a shock. It's 40,000 volts. It'll disarm him. Beyond that, but now, if he moves,
I use this.
if he moves, you use that, right?
I won't get in trouble.
No, you won't get in trouble. You've got my word. Don't move.
Now, will a voice of authority make this man do the unthinkable, even though he has no idea what the man he's guarding is supposed to have done?
Look, he's not around anymore, all right? So I'm just going to make a move, all right?
No, don't.
Look, honestly.
Good idea. Sit.
Amazingly, half the people Charlie stopped reacted like this man.
It's disturbing that ordinary people can get caught up in situations where they do things that they normally regard as immoral or unacceptable. An authority figure asks you to inflict pain on somebody, and it's very difficult to refuse. And this is the kind of situation where unjust authority can gain power, and some very distressing consequences can come out of it.
Like the distressing rift that's widening between the two teams in the human zoo. Neither group's happy, not the powerful A's nor the downtrodden B's, but the spirit of the B's is about to improve considerably. Next, revenge.
Okay guys, this is the deal, right? Blue casserole, red casserole.
Just thought it was hysterical. So enjoyed listening to that.
I wanted one up on them.
I think a lot of them feel quite bitter.
Now we had the chance to do it.
I don't have any trust in them to cook my dinner.
It's like, okay, we're going to cook for you. I hope you choke on it.
In the human zoo, Caroline continues to insist on obedience from everyone, both the B team and her own team.
Nobody likes to particularly give orders and instructions, but you've got to give orders and instructions to get the job done.
This is the way she interprets her role as manager. In her mind, being in charge is all about giving orders and making sure they're obeyed. No questions asked.
Underneath.
But what does this approach lead to? Jane Elliott is an ex-school teacher who now runs workshops on racism. What they're really about, though, is how tempting power can be and how tempting it can be to abuse it.
When I do this workshop, I see the worst of people. I see their willingness to go along to get along. And I also see people who enjoy being on the top. You people get in here and sign in now.
These 24 volunteers don't know it yet, but within the hour, Jane will have turned them against each other. Half of them will be made subordinates, and the other half her allies. She starts by dividing them into two groups according to eye color. Blue-eyed people like this man are made to wear collars.
Now take all your junk and go over there until somebody takes you where you belong.
And sent to a locked holding room. Those with brown eyes are treated like old friends.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, not too bad. You okay?
Getting better by the minute, actually.
The blue-eyed group are kept under guard. The brown eyes are encouraged to live it up a bit. The blue eyes are made to wait. While the brown eyes are converted into Jane's partners in crime.
You people are all brown-eyed. That means you are superior to these people who are not brown-eyed. I expected them to change, and I told them in what ways I expected them to change, and they went along with that. It's seduction. Who's going to force them to fail? We are. I'm glad you didn't say you are. I'm glad you said we are, because we are going to force them to fail. And then, on whom are we going to blame their failure? Them. And very quickly, these fine, upstanding, liberal white folks and people of color decided that they would rather be with the power structure than outside the power structure. They would rather be powerful than powerless.
So when the blue eyes are finally let in for a series of demeaning and pointless reading and writing exercises, during which Jane will browbeat and ridicule them, what will the brown eyes do? Will they behave abusively and without compassion just because they've been told they can?
Get up here and sit down on the floor.
Why can't I sit here?
There's no chair there. Are you stupid?
There's no chair at the front, is there?
We're just going to sit on the floor. Didn't you hear what she said?
Get up here and sit on the floor like I told you to. This looks like Lulu, but you can't tell. What? What do you
Yes, Carmen.
What's the first name on this paper?
Louise.
Louise? Does this say Louise?
I switched between the two.
I think I was putting the blue-eyed people down because we've been coerced, in a sense, into believing that we were supposed to be working as a group, holding the power, and to be intimidating. So that's really what I was trying to do, and maybe part of it was because I was enjoying it a little bit.
Next.
If I have but one life, let me live it as a brown.
Did you ever hear that before?
You speak more clearly.
A minute ago. You sure did some. But the first person who read that one, please stand. Now, do you really think it bears repeating?
I didn't listen.
Which sign did she read?
Speak up, Louis. The one I just read?
The one you just read. Do you really think I wanted you to repeat it?
No.
Then stand up and read the sign you're supposed to read.
Blue eyes make good secretaries.
Would that one make a good secretary? How would you like to have him taking notes? Might that be rather interesting? Okay. Next.
I felt aroused, man. It was this rush, like, to have the power to say, look, you sit down, you do what I tell you to do.
Now, what's the next sound in quiet?
I.
I. How do you spell I?
How do I spell I?
Yeah, how do you spell I in the word quiet?
I.
I. Do it. Say it as you do it.
I.
I. What's the... Why are you putting a capital I in the middle of this word?
This is the way I was saying it. Quiet.
I. When you say it like that, you capitalize it.
Yeah.
How the hell sick are you? Now, erase that I.
In the end, the Blue Eyes have their say.
I was angry about all the comments that were coming flying over, and I wanted to strike back. I wanted to get up there and give to them as good as I'd got from them.
Yes, it's called the desire to get even, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, you were feeling like you wanted to turn the tables.
Absolutely.
So it was your turn.
Absolutely.
I was disappointed in myself because I didn't stand up for what I knew was right. And I was also disappointed in my fellow Blue Eyes because when you were attacking them, they let you attack them.
Common sense tells you that the colour of your eyes doesn't determine your intelligence, but when people constantly pull you down and just demean everything that you say, you start to feel bad about yourself. Your confidence just goes out the window.
Mahatma Gandhi said, civilization is the encouragement of differences. I'd like for us to live in a civilized world where it's not only all right to be different, it's a wonderful thing to be different.
But the B-Team in the human zoo experiment aren't enjoying being made to feel different. They have revenge on their minds. Finally, an opportunity presents itself.
2 lamb casseroles.
2 lamb casseroles.
Okay, so we can put like 3 pieces of lamb in theirs and the rest of it in ours.
So you make 1 casserole for group A, and using the flavourings that I've provided.
Okay, ready? Give the dinner.
A gift from the gods. A chance to get one back on their arch rivals. So what will they do?
To be honest with you, I really don't give a damn if they're cooking our dinner or not, because I know that at the end of the day, they're not going to be doing anything to our food, because they'll be cooking food for themselves too.
We could definitely them over on this one.
Oh yeah, we can super spice it up.
Okay guys, this is the deal, right? Blue casserole, red casserole. Lamb, vegetables, spices.
Tabasco.
We can put whatever we want for the blue team and whatever we want for the red team.
I'm worried about them cooking me dinner.
Anything could happen.
I don't have any trust in them to cook my dinner without feeling, because I think a lot of them feel quite bitter.
We're gonna give them the celery filled fat ass meat lamb casserole.
It's gonna taste nice, but it's just gonna put
This time there was an advantage to doing the work because we could make ourselves this grand meal. We have Sean who's a pretty good cook, so she made us a nice meal and made them a not so nice meal. Put it that way.
I just thought it was hysterical because it was our only opportunity to get one back on them all day. We'd done all the cleaning, we'd cleaned their boots, we'd picked up the fag beds, we'd done all the washing up, and then it was supposed to be a forfeit cooking this meal, and we had great fun with it.
So enjoying this dinner.
We put all the good meat into ours and put all the nasty meat into theirs. It's like, okay, we've done all your washing up, we're going to cook for you. You know, I hope you choke on it.
George is colluding with the blue team members here, and of course in the red team is his great friend, Catherine, so it's remarkable that he's going along with this.
I wanted one up on them, and now we had the chance to do it. And one of my friends got caught in the crossfire, if you like. But we were just all being egomaniacs at that point. It was like, right, our egos have been bruised, let's bruise theirs, but without telling them, and then tell them afterwards. But we didn't.
imagine Michael getting that piece of meat on his
The Blues now are feeling their kind of intrinsic power. That is, you know, it's really the power of friendship, the power of camaraderie.
So there's been this kind of reversal between the Blues and the Reds. The Blues are now very much in winning position.
As it turned out in the end, I think the blue team ended up the better team because we just got on so well together. There was no bickering between us at all.
The blue team pulled together like a union does. So when the underdog's being put upon, they pull together rather than disbanding, much like a union does.
Nothing they really don't like us. Have you seen the dinner? Oh no, come on, look, we're in Clem. Look at this. You don't like us. We're in Clem. What is this? It is just full of gristle. I cannot stand a gristle. I mean, look at that. Look at the size of that lump of that gristle. I physically cannot eat things with gristle on it. If I put gristle in it, it's like eating excuse the expression, it's like eating a spunky egg when it's not cooked properly. It's like snot.
The two teams eat separately tonight.
So that's a nice touch. Dave says cheers. And that act of toasting is again a nice act of bonding among them.
Sure. Quite in contrast to what's happening in the Red dining room, where all the heads are bowed and nobody is
eating
chinking
in silence.
glasses.
I mean, it's remarkable. You would never know from this contrast that the Reds were dominant and the Blues were subordinate.
And it's not just because of their revolting food. While the B team members act like old friends, the A team's falling apart. Michael's left the table to be on his own, and everyone else has left because Sharon and Caroline are quarreling.
I didn't say anything about lagging to it.
No, I said no. I said to you, I suppose you're going to lag now. And he turned around and said...
Unlike the B team, the A team is rapidly disintegrating.
It's as though they've let themselves down in some ways.
Yeah, we often say absolute power corrupts absolutely. So I think Carolyn's, you know, kind of irrational dominance has really worked to split up the group. And that they're not happy being the Reds.
No.
I'm not sure they'd want to be Blues, but it's certainly not enjoying their power.
Next, how do the participants react when the winning team is announced?
And we also cleaned your boots yesterday, so we've demoralised you.
And picked up bag bus! So how the hell have we been demoralising you?
Nearly midnight, and in the human zoo experiment, two members of the A team, Sharon and Michael, have become dejected and have gone to bed. But the four who are left are joined by the B team for a debriefing. Two questions need answering. Which teams won the day's competition, and which team will have to sleep outside tonight?
And in fact, in all fairness to the blue team, they've achieved more because they've demoralised the red team.
Yes, I agree with that.
We've demoralised. How have we
demoralised? We've got 4 members.
That's got nothing
to do with us.
How have we demoralised you when you have been management? We have been the ones that have done the washing up. When you first agreed to do the washing up, then when you got the management role, you decided no, the blue team will do the washing up. And also, we were segregated rooms. We had the least comfortable rooms. We had to eat in the little room next to the kitchen.
The scullery, as I like to call it.
We had the scullery. We had to cook. And we also cleaned your boots yesterday, so we've demoralised
And picked up bag bus. So how the hell have we been demoralising you?
So, and there's 4 of you now, so you're in management and we're the workers, yeah? But yeah, we've demoralised you. I don't see how that works. So explain yourself, please.
Well, it just shows what full managers you've got, and if you've been demoralised by
You guys have more arguments.
The winners of the blue team.
I was delighted at how Richard's face dropped because he'd convinced himself he was going to win. That was what pleased me. I was so pleased. It was like, yes, we've got you. Do you know what I mean? And it wasn't that we'd won, necessarily. It was that they were so gutted.
Once you're up there and you get a feel for it, you don't mind staying there. It's hard to come down, and we had to camp out that night, and it was very hard to come down.
Sleeping bags, bivvy bags, might need some warm clothes.
Maybe.
Don't forget your pillow.
I won't.
Okay.
We know you're a good guy. I've got the telly.
Bye. Nice sleep.
shame for them.
I've got another question for you now.
Yeah.
Having arrived at the situation we're in, how do you think you can police this? Or do you wish to police it?
I won't sleep, I'll sit by the door.
I'll start smoking all along as long as you get me a bottle of Jack Daniels. I'm quite happy with that.
Good luck, the blue team did really, really well today. But if we're on teams tomorrow, there's no chance, absolutely no chance.
Tomorrow we're going to kick their ass.
We're going to kick it. Good start.
I'm going to be really ruthless. Really ruthless, yeah. Because they really
And
rocked
we've
it
got
in
a
today,
strong
didn't they?
team now. We've actually got a strong team. We've got 4 very strong members who are not prepared to lose anymore.
We're going to win this.
And it was a very close margin, I'll have you all know.
This might be a little setback.
A very tiny little
We
setback.
might have lost the battle, but we haven't lost the war.
The A team prepares to endure the freezing November night outside. Still competitive and still power hungry in spite of having lost not only the day's competition, but also 2 colleagues and the friendship of the other team.
You ladies sorted?
Not as sorted as we're going to get in an orange plastic bag.
If you slide
But why have they lost?
I am.
I think it can be traced to Carolyn's really usurping of power in a very authoritarian, domineering way, and producing a lot of conflict in her fellows.
And I think their insistence on following rules really illustrates how blind obedience to authority can lead to the disintegration of groups and can provide us with justifications for engaging in all sorts of perhaps even antisocial behaviour.
I didn't think they thought it would end up like this because I think they thought they were going to win everything.
When you go around a circle and say, did you win or lose? Nobody wants to say, well, I lost. But when you listen to the comments, you listen to, well, we fell apart this morning, we didn't communicate well, we could have done things better, things like that. We had nothing like that to say for today.
It's hard to accept the fact that we made some failings there.
But I think
and we didn't have time to address
Did we
them.
make all the failings? Or
No, they
did
were
the
predetermined
team
for
make
us.
the failings?
No, they were predetermined for us. We didn't have a choice in the
That's right.
decisions that we made all the time. Those decisions were taken out of our hands, and as a result of that, we failed.
They have failed, but their failure was predetermined only by their own behavior, and they remain blissfully unaware of what the human zoo is all about, or the psychologist's questions that they've unwittingly been answering all along.
Who becomes a leader? Who becomes a follower? Who finds new strength in the situation? Who gets demoralized? Who learns to negotiate? Who becomes a dictator? All the things we've seen in just these few days can really only be understood by looking at behavior, if you will, in the raw, behavior in the field. What people bring into a situation is not always the same as what the situation brings out of people. And for me, this is the most fascinating thing in the universe, is to try to understand the nature of human nature.
Look, honestly.
Ah! Just twice would be great.
Help me. Help me, son. Please help me.
How many people at Beers?
Look at the wood. 5 foot minimum the construction's got to be.
I just wanted to thank you guys for making it out to the show this evening, and we truly appreciate you guys' time. And for everybody who's working here at the ACL, they're a good bunch. So it's nice that it's happening in this city. So with that said, we're Explosions in the Sky, and here we go.